There's a moment in every person's life when they stand at the crossroads of mediocrity and greatness. It's not marked by fanfare or ceremony. It's quiet, almost invisible. But in that moment, everything changes. Not because the world shifts around you, but because something fundamental awakens within you. The realization that power, real power, isn't something you're given. It's something you build brick by brick, decision by decision, day by day. Most people mistake power for position. They think it's the corner office, the title on the business card, the number in the bank account. They're wrong. Those are the shadows of power, not power itself. Real power is the ability to shape reality according to your vision. It's the capacity to turn thoughts into things, dreams into empires, ideas into movements that outlast your lifetime. Andrew Carnegie understood this when he arrived in America with nothing but determination burning in his chest. He didn't see poverty as his destiny, he saw it as his starting point. While others complained about their circumstances, Carnegie was studying them, learning from them, transforming them into stepping stones towards something greater. He built an empire not because he was born into privilege, but because he understood a fundamental truth. Power isn't inherited, it's earned through the relentless pursuit of excellence. The first pillar of real power is absolute clarity about who you are and what you stand for. Without this foundation, everything else crumbles. You become a ship without an anchor, blown by every wind of opinion, every trend, every temporary setback. But when you know who you are at your core, when your values are carved in stone and your purpose burns like an eternal flame, you become unshakable. Thomas Edison knew who he was. When the world told him he was a failure after his 1000th attempt to create the light bulb, he didn't question his identity. He didn't wonder if maybe he wasn't cut out for invention. He knew he was an inventor, and inventors solve problems. That clarity gave him the power to persist when lesser men would have quit. It gave him the power to see opportunity where others saw only obstacles. This clarity isn't something you stumble upon by accident. It's forged in the fires of honest self-examination. It requires you to strip away the layers of what others expect you to be, what society tells you to want, what your fears whisper you should settle for. Underneath all of that noise is your authentic self, the person you were meant to become before the world tried to make you into someone else. But clarity alone isn't enough. The second pillar of real power is unwavering belief in your ability to achieve what others consider impossible. This isn't blind optimism or wishful thinking. This is the deep, unshakable conviction that comes from understanding a simple truth. Every great achievement in human history started as an impossible dream in someone's mind. When Walt Disney was told that a mouse could never be the star of a cartoon, he didn't argue, he didn't try to convince the critics. He simply went to work proving them wrong. When banks refused to finance his theme park because adults don't want to play in a fantasy world, he found another way. His belief wasn't dependent on external validation. It was an internal fire that no amount of rejection could extinguish. This kind of belief is built through small victories that compound over time. Every promise you keep to yourself strengthens it. Every goal you achieve, no matter how modest, adds another layer of unshakable confidence. You begin to understand that you are not a victim of circumstances, you are the architect of your destiny. The third pillar is the courage to act despite uncertainty. Power isn't built in the comfort zone, it's forged in the space between what you know and what you're willing to discover. Every person who has ever built something meaningful has had to take that first step into the unknown, knowing that failure was not just possible but probable. Henry Ford didn't have a guarantee that people would want automobiles. In fact, most people thought his horseless carriage was a dangerous novelty that would never replace the reliability of horses. But Ford understood something that his critics didn't. The future belongs to those bold enough to create it, not to those comfortable enough to accept it as it is. This courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward despite fear. It's the recognition that the pain of regret is far greater than the temporary discomfort of uncertainty. Every day you delay taking action on your dreams, you're choosing the slow death of mediocrity over the exhilarating uncertainty of greatness. But action without direction is just motion. The fourth pillar of real power is strategic thinking, the ability to see not just where you are and where you want to go, but the most effective path between the two. This requires you to think like a chess master, always considering not just your next move, but how that move sets up the moves that follow. John D. Rockefeller didn't become the richest man in American history by accident. He studied every aspect of the oil business until he understood it better than anyone else. He saw opportunities that others missed because he was thinking 3 moves ahead while they were focused on the immediate game. He understood that real power comes from controlling the systems, not just participating in them. Strategic thinking means asking better questions. Instead of how can I make money, ask how can I create value that people will pay for. Instead of how can I get ahead, ask how can I become so valuable that advancement becomes inevitable. Instead of how can I beat the competition, ask how can I make the competition irrelevant. The fifth pillar is discipline, the bridge between intention and achievement. Discipline is what transforms your dreams from wishful thinking into inevitable reality. It's the daily choice to do what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not, whether it's convenient or not, whether anyone is watching or not. Abraham Lincoln understood discipline. While others were content to complain about the state of the nation, Lincoln was disciplining himself to become the leader the nation needed. He read voraciously, practiced law meticulously, and honed his speaking skills relentlessly. When the moment came for him to step onto the stage of history, he was ready not because of luck, but because of decades of disciplined preparation. Discipline isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. It's about showing up every day, especially on the days when you don't want to. It's about understanding that small, consistent actions compound into extraordinary results over time. The person who reads for 30 minutes every day will, over the course of a decade, have consumed more knowledge than most people acquire in a lifetime. This discipline extends beyond personal habits to how you manage your time, your energy, and your attention. In a world designed to distract you, the ability to focus on what matters most becomes a superpower. While others are scattered across a dozen different priorities, you're laser focused on the few things that will create the greatest impact. The sixth pillar is the wisdom to surround yourself with people who elevate your thinking and challenge your assumptions. No one builds real power in isolation. Behind every great achievement is a network of relationships that provided support, guidance, and opportunities that would have been impossible to create alone. Carnegie surrounded himself with brilliant minds who complemented his strengths and compensated for his weaknesses. He understood that his success was not just about what he could accomplish personally, but about what he could inspire and enable others to accomplish alongside him. He built not just a steel empire, but a network of relationships that multiplied his influence far beyond what any individual could achieve. But this isn't about using people, it's about creating mutual value. The most powerful people in the world are those who have mastered the art of making others more successful. When you help others achieve their goals, you create a network of allies who are invested in your success because it's connected to their own. This requires you to develop genuine interest in other people's dreams and challenges. It means listening more than you speak, asking better questions, and looking for ways to contribute before you consider what you might receive. Power built on genuine relationships is sustainable power. Power built on manipulation is temporary at best. The seventh pillar is resilience, the ability to transform setbacks into comebacks, failures into fuel, and obstacles into opportunities. Every person who has built lasting power has faced moments when everything seemed to be falling apart. The difference between those who emerge stronger and those who are broken by adversity is not the absence of failure, but the response to it. When Edison's laboratory burned down, destroying years of work and millions of dollars in equipment, He didn't see it as a catastrophe, he saw it as an opportunity to rebuild better than before. All our mistakes are burned up, he told his son. Thank God we can start anew. That perspective, the ability to find opportunity in apparent disaster, is what separates those who build lasting power from those who are defeated by temporary setbacks. Resilience isn't just about bouncing back, it's about bouncing forward. It's about using every challenge as a chance to develop new capabilities, deeper wisdom, and stronger character. The obstacles that break weak people are the same obstacles that forge strong people into something even stronger. This requires a fundamental shift in how you interpret events. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of, "How can I avoid this in the future?" ask, "How can I use this to become better?" Every setback contains within it the seeds of a comeback, but only if you're willing to plant them. The eighth pillar is continuous learning, the recognition that in a rapidly changing world, the ability to adapt and grow is more valuable than any specific skill or knowledge you currently possess. The moment you stop learning is the moment you start becoming obsolete. The most powerful people in history have been voracious learners. They understood that knowledge is the ultimate leverage. It multiplies the impact of every other resource you possess. A person with knowledge can turn a small amount of capital into a fortune. A person with knowledge can turn a simple idea into a movement. A person with knowledge can turn a moment of opportunity into a lifetime of success. But learning isn't just about accumulating information, it's about developing wisdom. Wisdom is the ability to see patterns, to understand cause and effect, to predict consequences before they occur. It's the difference between knowing what to do and understanding why it works. This learning must be intentional and systematic. You can't rely on accidental education or hope that you'll somehow absorb what you need to know through osmosis. You must actively seek out new knowledge, new perspectives, new challenges that stretch your understanding and expand your capabilities. The ninth pillar is the courage to make difficult decisions quickly and decisively. Power is often determined not by the quality of your best decisions, but by your ability to make good decisions consistently, especially under pressure. While others are paralyzed by analysis or frozen by fear of making the wrong choice, powerful people understand that the cost of indecision is often greater than the cost of an imperfect decision. This doesn't mean being reckless or impulsive. It means gathering the information you need, considering the options available, and then having the courage to commit to a course of action. It means understanding that perfect information is rarely available and that waiting for certainty is often a form of procrastination disguised as prudence. Great leaders throughout history have been defined by their ability to make tough calls when the stakes were highest. They understood that leadership isn't about having all the answers, it's about being willing to make decisions when the answers aren't clear and taking responsibility for the consequences. The 10th pillar is the vision to see beyond current circumstances to future possibilities. Real power isn't just about managing what exists, it's about creating what doesn't yet exist. It's about seeing opportunities that others miss because they're too focused on current limitations rather than future potential. When others saw the internet as a curiosity for academics and computer enthusiasts, visionaries saw it as the foundation for entirely new industries. When others saw personal computers as expensive toys for hobbyists, entrepreneurs saw them as tools that would transform how the world works. The ability to see the future before it arrives is one of the most valuable forms of power you can develop. This vision isn't mystical or magical, it's the result of deep understanding combined with creative thinking. It comes from studying trends, understanding human nature, and asking what-if questions that others are afraid to explore. It requires you to look beyond the surface of current events to the underlying forces that are shaping tomorrow's reality. But vision without execution is just daydreaming. The 11th pillar is the ability to translate vision into reality through systematic action. This is where most people fail. They can see what needs to be done, but they can't bridge the gap between knowing and doing. Execution requires breaking down big visions into smaller, manageable steps. It requires creating systems and processes that ensure consistent progress toward your goals. It requires the discipline to do the unglamorous work that makes the glamorous results possible. The most successful people in the world are not necessarily the most talented or the most intelligent. They're the ones who have mastered the art of execution. They understand that a mediocre plan executed brilliantly will always outperform a brilliant plan executed poorly. The 12th pillar is the wisdom to understand that real power is not about dominating others, it's about empowering them. The most sustainable form of power is the kind that grows stronger as you share it. When you help others become more powerful, you create a network of influence that extends far beyond what you could achieve alone. This requires a fundamental shift from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. Instead of seeing power as a finite resource that must be hoarded, you begin to see it as something that multiplies when shared. The leader who develops other leaders creates an organization that can achieve things no individual could accomplish. The mentor who empowers others creates a legacy that outlasts their own lifetime. True power is measured not by how many people serve you, but by how many people you serve. It's not about how much you can take from the world, but about how much you can contribute to it. The most powerful people in history are remembered not for what they accumulated, but for what they created, what they built, and what they left behind. This understanding transforms your relationship with power from something you grasp to something you steward. You begin to see yourself not as the owner of power, but as its guardian, responsible for using it wisely and passing it on to others who will use it to create even greater good. The 13th pillar is the patience to build for the long term while maintaining the urgency to act in the present. Real power is not built overnight, it's the result of consistent effort compounded over time. But this long-term perspective must be balanced with immediate action. You can't wait for perfect conditions or complete preparation. You must begin where you are with what you have and improve as you go. This requires what might seem like a contradiction, the ability to think in decades while acting in days. Every daily action must be aligned with your long-term vision, but you can't let long-term thinking become an excuse for short-term inaction. The most powerful people understand that time is their most valuable resource. They invest it like a master investor, carefully, strategically, and with a clear understanding of the returns they expect. They say no to good opportunities so they can say yes to great ones. They understand that what you don't do is often more important than what you do. As we reach the crescendo of this understanding, we arrive at the ultimate truth about power. It's not something you have, it's something you are. Real power flows from the inside out. It begins with the decision to take complete responsibility for your life, your choices, and your results. It grows through the daily practice of discipline, learning, and service. It multiplies through relationships built on mutual respect and shared value. The person who understands these principles doesn't need to announce their power. It radiates from them naturally. They don't need to demand respect. They command it through their actions. They don't need to prove their worth. They demonstrate it through their contributions. This is your moment. This is your choice. You can continue to drift through life hoping that circumstances will somehow align to give you what you want. Or you can decide right now to begin building the kind of power that transforms not just your own life, but the lives of everyone you touch. The tools are in your hands. The principles are before you. The only question that remains is this: what will you build? What legacy will you leave? What difference will you make? The world is waiting for what you have to offer, but it won't wait forever. Every day you delay is a day that your potential remains unrealized, your dreams remain unfulfilled, your power remains unbuilt. The time for excuses is over. The time for action is now. The time to build real power and keep it begins with your very next decision. Choose wisely, choose boldly, choose now. Your empire awaits.